President Cyril Ramaphosa has praised the expanded BRICS partnership. He has called it a source of hope for emerging economies in the global south. The summit in Kazan, Russia, is the first since BRICS expanded in Johannesburg in 2023. Joining us now is Wits political economist Dr. Lumkile Mondi. Good evening, Doctor. Thank you very much for joining us on The Full View. So the BRICS summit has drawn to a close. Your take-homes overall, perhaps starting with Russia as the host, which has been ostracized by the West. They've hosted leading states of the global south that enthusiastically participated, as we've seen. What message has this summit sent to the world on Russia's status right now?
Good evening to you and the viewers. I think Putin is not isolated. He remains part of the international community, and many people outside NATO and the United States specifically would like to work with Russia to advance a new development agenda that respects sovereignty of nations, that allow countries to pursue their developmental ambitions. But more important also to talk about the past, that many of the wealth, particularly in the NATO countries, was built on colonialism. And therefore, there has to be a way of how the existing institution can redress the past, and in doing so, improve the lives of over 1 billion people in the global south who remain having no food on the table and are marginalized and will never see any prosperity going forward.
Which is essentially what the Kazan Declaration actually speaks on. These are some of the core issues
Absolutely.
that they address. But we will touch on that declaration because it's quite comprehensive. But let's go to President Ramaphosa's statement expressing his optimism around the just expanded BRICS partnership of 10 countries, which now, of course, comprise more than a quarter of the global economy and almost half of the world's population. Many say, of course, that this expansion will lead to increased economic growth through, among others, improved cross-border business operations and enhanced innovation. Do you share this optimism?
Absolutely. It gives us a huge opportunity as South Africa to have new markets. Remember, our economy, except for China recently, where we still continue exporting raw commodities. Most of our manufactured goods go to our colonial partners, whether it's Britain, of course, US, and as well as Germany. So what we need in South Africa to address our unemployment, inequality, and poverty is to look for new markets so that we can have our cake and eat it. By that, I mean, we remain partners with NATO countries. At the same time, we expand opportunities for South African people and assert our national interest by opening new markets. And I think our president did very, very well through this meeting, but also through all the attempts that he's trying to do to open new markets for South Africa.
Now, Doctor, in as much as the new partners, which are, of course, Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, present benefits, some have argued that they equally present challenges with glaring competing geopolitical interests, actually. Your take on that?
Fortunately, the Kazan meeting showed to us that it is possible to build a new world order. A order of multipolarity, an order that respects nation state, and in doing so allows us to have that contradiction whereby we may trade and have a relationship with you, but your other enemy will be our friend. So that's the new world order. It's got complexities. You have to navigate it. But more importantly for South Africa, has to make sure that always what drives its diplomatic agenda is national interest. We want to make sure that we work with partners that understand our history, that understand that a country like ours, which is very, very rich, that many of our riches were stolen. But more importantly also that we need other partners to help us to redress, to build our nation and ensure that as we look forward to a much greener industrialization, to much more broader participation by South Africans and Africans, that South Africa is able to do so through the support of various nations and through these contradictions that we have, where we're with the West, we're with the Middle East, we're with Russia, we're with everyone, because as long as it addresses our national interest, will engage as South Africa.
Then to the Kazan Declaration itself. Just talk us through the points that stood out for you.
So for me, is an acceptance that, we have to deal with the West. That is, dollar is still going to be a currency that is there. It's going to coexist with the other bilateral relations which are being forged. Where, for example, with Russia, they can trade with us with a ruble, and we can trade with them with rands. However, when we're trading in the global space, we still got to need the dollar. So the acceptance for me that is not about us against them. It's about building a new order that subscribes to some of the values that we signed up to after the Second World War, which the United Nations has completely undermined. And therefore, through this, I think we're able to bring some of the reforms to the UN so that we're able to reform the UN Security Council. We're able to have more voice for us, particularly the countries that are colonized, so that we can be able to change the global order. But more important also, as I said earlier, bring billions of Asians, of Latin Americans, of Africans into better stage of development where poverty is a thing of the past.
So essentially for you, it was the desire for greater multilateralism and a fairer international order.
Absolutely.
And then on the de-dollarization, I mean, even in 2023, this was all the talk when they were here, but it seems it doesn't move beyond being a great debate. Is it even possible at this end, if you just look at how difficult a mammoth a task it would be to almost reduce the reliance on the dollar and have some sort of a common currency?
It is possible. Where it is possible is because of innovation. So we're talking about crypto now. So the innovation that is embedded within financial system, where crypto is being developed to be a new form of exchange. I believe that the South African Reserve Bank is working also around these issues. So I think where we're going with technology, with innovation, we'll move away from currencies into crypto, and in doing so, we'll be able, therefore, to move away from one currency dominating, but cryptocurrencies which are backed by certain assets which still need to be determined, because within that you want transparency, you want to know that the crypto itself will never collapse because the other country that's got more cryptos is not stable in the medium and long term. So how we do that is going to be very interesting. I believe that in the future there'll be cryptos. So they were moving towards that innovation, but it's not going to happen, I think, in my lifetime. But I think many of you will see it. But we're entering a very interesting period of crypto, of innovation, where currencies disappear completely, and we all work with codes. We work with everything that excites us in this world.
I suppose, Doctor, what we can agree on is that it's still a long way to go before
Absolutely.
the reduced
100%.
reliance on the dollar. But thank you very much for joining us this evening. That was Dr. Lumkile Mondi, political economist at Wits.